The movie starts with this kid Justin riding his bike home from school, going through this road in the woods. Out of nowhere, it's like something yanked him and he got flung off his bike. Somewhere else, in a fancy house by the sea, Jackie Harper, a legal advisor, and her husband Greg Harper, a police detective, live with their son Connor, who is about to turn a year older. Jackie was distracted while making breakfast that morning and ended up burning the pancakes. On top of that, she couldn't find her favorite sunflower cup. At home, things were not good between Jackie and her family because she had cheated on her husband. Connor was really mad at his mom and even got into a fight to let out his anger with another student at school. Greg was still trying to keep up the relationship, but he was feeling really hurt and betrayed. Later that morning, Greg got a call and he got so mad that he chucked his phone at the window after the call. That's when he noticed Jackie's cup on the roof and thought Connor must have put it there to spite his mom. There was a cigarette butt in it too. A little while later, Greg and Jackie both got to work. Greg's boss, Lieutenant Davis, assigned him a case about a missing kid named Justin, who disappeared in the woods with his bike. When Greg saw the case, it reminded him of another kid, Michael, who went missing while riding his bike near the city outskirts and was never found. Later, Greg and his partner Spitsky headed to the crime scene, where there were already a bunch of cops and park guards. The police had told the people nearby Justin's description and asked them to share any helpful info. Shortly after, they found a green folding knife nearby, and it instantly jogged Spitsky's memory about a guy named Cole Gordon who did some messed up stuff 15 years ago. Spitsky had worked on that case and figured the person who took Justin and Michael was probably copying Gordon. When Jackie got home, she was shocked to find all her silverware missing and a repairman wrapping up fixing her window. When he was leaving, she asked who let him in, and he said it was their daughter. Jackie was confused because she didn't have a daughter. After he left, she suspected that he was the one who took her silverware. During dinner that night, Connor was so mad at his mom for breaking his dad's heart and ruining their family by cheating on him. Jackie didn't know what to say, so she just let Connor storm off to his room. While Jackie was doing the dishes, the TV in the living room randomly switched on. She tried to turn it off, but it kept turning back on. When Greg got home, Jackie told him about the repairman who had accused someone of stealing her silverware earlier that day. Greg didn't pay much attention to her because he thought it was all just nonsense, and he was too tired to deal with it. When Greg went upstairs, he got a weird feeling because 2 photos were missing. Then, he spotted a hamster and tried to catch it, but when he reached the closet, someone shut the door. He initially thought it was his son's prank, but then Jackie appeared and opened the door after hearing the banging. Greg asked where Connor was, and Jackie said he had been gone for a while. Suspecting something fishy, Greg searched the whole house but didn't find anything odd. Then he got into a fight with Jackie about their household issues. As always, Greg crashed in the guest room in the attic, while Jackie, who was feeling upset, tossed and turned all night and watched the ship out at sea from her backyard. The next morning, Jackie heard voices coming from Connor's room and found out he was playing an online game on his computer. After he stopped the game, she grabbed his clothes from under the bed and noticed a frog mask there. Shortly after, Connor came out of the kitchen. Jackie told him she would drive him to school the next day because there was a recent kidnapping in the city. At the same time, Greg was knocked out sleeping when someone yanked his blanket off. When he woke up, he was shocked to find his pants and the mattress all wet and worried he might have peed himself. Later at the cop shop, Lieutenant Davis talked about the kidnapping case, which was the same as the one 15 years ago. The guy they locked up back then, Gordon, was now being questioned again. His lawyer wanted to reopen the case because he thought Gordon was innocent and should be released. But Spitsky said there was too much evidence pointing to Gordon, like the knives and kids' clothes they found at his place. To be sure, Lieutenant Davis told Greg and Spitsky to go talk to the 2 victims who got away from Gordon, Tommy Braun, and Travers. They could confirm he was the guy from the old cases. Afterward, Greg and Spitsky went to Tommy's place, but he freaked out and screamed when he saw them because of the trauma from 15 years ago that messed up his face. Since they couldn't talk to him, Greg and Spitsky decided to go back to the office. At the office, Greg checked out the tape of Spitsky talking to Tommy after Tommy got away from Gordon 15 years ago. Tommy, who was just a kid at the time, said that a man approached him and Travers while they were hanging out by the train tracks. They were both taken to a spot deep in the woods, but Tommy couldn't recall exactly where it was. Somehow, Tommy messed up his own face, leaving permanent damage. He also mentioned that the man's place seemed to vanish and the cops wouldn't be able to track him down. Meanwhile, over at Jackie's place, her ex-boyfriend Todd showed up out of the blue because he missed her a lot. Jackie had to break the news to him that she was done with their relationship and wanted to focus on fixing things with her husband, Greg. Out of nowhere, Todd got hit in the head by Jackie's favorite cup. She rushed him to the basement to patch him up and keep her family from finding out. Since Todd's injury was bad, Jackie promised to take him to the hospital after she dropped her son off at school. But then, Todd's phone rang, and when Jackie checked, she saw that it was Todd calling. When she answered, there was no one on the line. Jackie asked where Todd's phone was, but he was too hurt to respond. Suddenly, Jackie heard the sound of vinyl records coming from upstairs and went to see what was going on. At the same time, Connor, who was getting ready for school, heard a weird noise coming from the attic. When he went to check, there was nobody there. As he came down from the attic, Jackie saw him and thought he was the one who had knocked over Todd with her cup. Later that morning, on the way to drop Connor off at school, Jackie ran into Mrs. Witter, who stopped to ask about her son Justin's case. She was convinced he was still out there somewhere. Jackie felt bad and reassured her that her husband and the police were doing everything they could to find Justin. When Todd got home, he was still feeling out of it because his head was bleeding. He searched the basement to look for some medicine, but then someone attacked him from behind. A little while later, Jackie came home and found Todd dead in a pool of blood. Meanwhile, Greg and Spitsky went back to the scene of the crime, and Spitsky found a fishing line hidden behind some bushes. This made him think that Justin was thrown off his bike by a trap set by the person who kidnapped him. When Greg got back home, Jackie wasted no time in telling him about Todd's body in the basement and filling him in on everything that had gone down. She thought that Connor had lashed out at Todd in a fit of rage, accidentally killing him before heading off to school. She was freaking out, but Greg did his best to calm her down. Then he told her to change her clothes, and they decided to hide Todd's body to protect Connor. That night, the cops and people from the neighborhood searched all around where Justin went missing. At the same time, Greg and Jackie took Todd's body to the woods to bury him. Jackie was still in shock and couldn't stop saying sorry while she cried because everything had happened so suddenly. Meanwhile, Connor was just chilling in his room, playing games, when he heard the washing machine running in the basement. He went to check it out and found all the missing cutlery in there. Then, when he went back to his room, he got a message from someone asking if he knew what frogging meant. Curious, he Googled it and found out it's when someone sneaks into your house and stays there without you knowing. Without Connor realizing it, there was someone in a frog mask spying on him from the door. When Greg and Jackie got back home, they were shocked to find Connor bound and gagged in the bathtub with a green folding knife stuck in the soap. Greg then told Jackie to take Connor to the hospital while he searched the entire house, convinced that the intruder was still there. At the police station, Lieutenant Davis told Spitsky that someone had called 911 about the kidnapper, but they didn't know where it happened, so they had to track the caller's GPS to find them. On the other hand, Greg went looking for the intruder in his house with his gun in hand. As he went up the stairs, it was seen that all the photos on the stairs had vanished. Greg kept searching and found all the missing photos in the attic, but they had been cut up. There was also a green folding knife there. He headed back downstairs after hearing the music from the vinyl records, only to be ambushed by someone who appeared out of nowhere and attacked him. The scene then switched to the perspective of a young couple named Alec and Mindy. They were into something called frogging for the thrill of it. One day, they snuck into Greg and Jackie's house through the garage while the family was out. They were amazed by the size of the house and ended up hiding in the dusty guest room in the attic. Mindy even found a secret passage in the room where they would hide out every night to avoid getting caught. Mindy then spoke to the camera, explaining that their mission was to show how professional froggers like them could enter people's houses without being detected. They always made sure not to disturb the homeowners' lives and usually targeted larger houses with empty rooms. They never stayed more than 4 or 5 days before moving on to another house. Mindy had been a frogger for a while, but Alec was just the new kid. Alec was the one who picked Greg's place because it was big and didn't have any cameras, so they could do whatever they wanted without getting in trouble. That night, while Mindy was snoozing, Alec snuck around the house. He spotted Jackie passed out in the big bedroom while Greg was crashed on the couch. Then he swiped Jackie's cup. The next morning, Alec was smoking and opening the attic window when Mindy quickly told him to stop because it was too risky. Soon after, Greg accidentally broke the window while throwing his phone. Then, when Greg went to the attic to get Jackie's cup, Mindy and Alec hid behind the mirror and watched him. When no one was home, Mindy stashed her backpack in the basement closet while Alec snapped a couple of pics on the stairs and swiped some utensils. He also ground up one of Jackie's sleeping pills and stirred it into his water bottle. Then he snagged the Wi-Fi password from the table and quickly got the universal remote app so he could mess with the house gadgets. He was being mischievous to mess with the owner, but Mindy wasn't cool with it. Before long, the repairman showed up and Mindy let him in, knowing he had no idea she was trespassing. That night, Mindy was really worried about the news of Justin getting kidnapped. It was a total shock to everyone in the city, especially because this was the second time after another little boy, Michael, went missing too. After that, Alec gave her some water with a sleeping pill he had crushed in it so she would sleep soundly, and he could go ahead with his plan to mess with Greg and his family. Alec first turned on the TV, let the hamster out, and then locked Greg in the closet. But Jackie came to help Greg, so Alec quickly hid under the bed wearing a frog mask. Later, when everyone was asleep, Alec pulled Greg's blanket and peed on him. The next day, Mindy was caught off guard when she spotted Alec chilling on the roof. She told him they shouldn't mess with the homeowner's fam and snagging, but Alec said he just wanted to have some fun. Then, by accident, Alec dropped a glass that ended up hitting Todd. Soon after, Connor came up to the attic because he heard some noise, so Mindy and Alec quickly found a hiding spot. Mindy needed everyone to get out of the house ASAP because Alec was causing a lot of trouble, but her backpack was still in the basement, so she had to go get it. Alec found Todd's phone and called Jackie while playing a record, which gave Mindy the chance to grab her backpack. But then she saw Todd in the basement and had to wait for him to leave. Soon Greg showed up after being brought home by Spitsky and ended up killing Todd with a baseball bat. He then stashed it in his car trunk. Shortly after, Greg went to the kidnapping scene with Spitsky. Meanwhile, Alec took all the photos on the wall by the stairs, cut them up, and stuck them on the wall of the attic room. At the same time, Mindy was still in shock after witnessing a murder. She grabbed her bag and was about to leave when Jackie suddenly came home and found Todd. Mindy had to hide again and saw the argument between Jackie and Greg, where Jackie accused Connor of killing Todd, while Greg acted confused and planned to bury Todd to protect Connor. After Jackie and Greg took Todd's body, Mindy found Alec knocking out Connor and getting ready to tie him up. She was about to call the cops because Alec was taking things too far, but he accidentally pushed her down the stairs and knocked her out. Then he stuffed Mindy in the trunk of Greg's car and tied up Connor in the bathtub, stabbing a green folding knife into the soap. Alec was planning to sneak away in Greg's car when Greg and Jackie suddenly got back, so he quickly found a hiding spot. Turned out, when Jackie left to take Connor to the hospital, it turned out that Greg didn't immediately search for the person in his house and instead took off in his car. Mindy, who was still in the trunk, woke up and realized the car was moving. She found a bag nearby and discovered Greg's baseball bat, Justin's clothes, and a bunch of green knives, which proved Greg was the kidnapper the police had been looking for. Not long after, they reached the forest. As soon as Greg left, Mindy hopped out of the car and dialed 911 to report that she had found the kidnapper, but she didn't know her location. The call soon got disconnected because of bad reception. Mindy came across a beat-up trailer with a window covered in newspaper so no one could see the light inside. When she went in, she found Justin and Michael stuck in a closet, asking for help because Greg had planned to bury them. But before she could help, Greg appeared, knocked her out, and stuffed her in the trunk. He then found Mindy's camera and realized there was another intruder in his house. When Greg got home later, he took Mindy upstairs and woke her up. Then he shot her. He fired twice at the wall, put the gun in Mindy's hand, wiped his fingerprints, and went after Alec. Alec tricked him with the music from the records and managed to make Greg drop the gun. They fought, but Greg hit Alec with an iron rod and knocked him out. Then, to make his plan look legit, Greg stabbed himself with a knife to make it seem like Alec and Mindy, who he would pretend were Justin and Michael's kidnappers, attacked him. He planned to kill them both and say it was in self-defense because they were trying to kidnap Connor. Just as Greg was about to kill Alec, Alec woke up and grabbed the gun that had fallen. He pointed it at Greg and said he knew who Greg really was. He looked at Greg with a lot of anger and hatred, and as soon as Greg saw Alec's face, he begged not to be killed. He was going to spill his whole life story, but Alec didn't care and shot him dead. Alec cried after he killed Greg. Then the cops showed up, and when Spitsky saw Alec with a gun, he shot him right away. But Alec surprised him because he knew his name. The cops managed to track Mindy's call in the forest earlier and rescued the two kidnapped kids. Spitsky couldn't believe it when he found out his partner was the kidnapper all along. When Jackie and Connor came back home, Spitsky had to break the awful news that Greg was the one who kidnapped Justin and Michael. At the same time, Alec was taken to the ambulance and he started remembering his childhood. It turns out Alec's real name was Alec Travers, a friend of Tommy Braun who was kidnapped by Greg but managed to escape before Greg could kill him 15 years ago. This also showed that Cole Gordon, who was suspected 15 years ago, was actually innocent and all the evidence in his house and car was planted by Greg. It turns out Alec targeted Greg's house from the beginning because he wanted revenge.